Watch right now on the Front News Project. The deadly hand-to-hand combat of a Ukrainian paratrooper, chilling footage. The armed forces of Ukraine defeated the North Koreans in Kharkiv, casualties, prisoners taken. Ruta, Polyanitsia, hell, Ukrainian weapons, and a nightmare for Russia. Fiery, hot and blazing. Watch the footage from the front lines right now. The bloody war continues. The war that Vladimir Putin and his pack unleashed on Ukrainian soil. The heroic resistance of the Ukrainian armed forces and the entire Ukrainian people continues in their fight for freedom. Greetings. This is Front News. This is Vladimir Timoshenko with you for the next 30 minutes. You will find the truth about the war, which our journalists are uncovering from the hottest battle zones. So, are you ready? Then let's start. And we start right away with exclusive and very disturbing material. The tragic story of a Ukrainian paratrooper with the call sign Cobra who wanted to cover and protect his comrades. Just the day before, the name of the Ukrainian warrior who died in hand-to-hand combat with a Russian was revealed. The video of our soldiers' last battle has stirred up social media. In it, Dmitry Maslovsky is trying to overcome the occupier from Yakutia, fighting him until his last breath. What happened off camera? Why did the Ukrainian paratrooper end up alone at the positions? And who was that second person he called for during the fight? TSN's special correspondent Yulia Kirienko managed to find answers to all the questions.
This video is from the fighter's helmet camera. It captures his journey to a private and shattered stronghold on the front line. He enters the yard and suddenly a burst of gunfire rings out. It seems our fighter is wounded and then suddenly the enemy appears and a hand-to-hand fight begins. The camera captures the moment when the occupier pulls out a knife, but our warrior wrests it away and tries to strike the enemy. He breaks free and calls for help. Oh my dog! The fight lasted a minute and comes to an end. Unfortunately, it's not in favor of our fighter.
Yes, I will leave peacefully. Don't touch me, I'm done.
This video of the brutal fight spread across social media. Some viewers were struck by the last words of our fighter, while others asked how it happened that he ended up alone in those ruins. And who is Fas? It seems we found answers from those who know what happened there. Actually, this was Dmitry Maslovsky with the call sign Cobra. He was practically a warrior from the very beginning of the full-scale invasion, serving in the 71st Airborne Assault Brigade. His last fight was in Donetsk in the village of Trudovoye near Kurakovo. Cobra is trying to overcome Yakut from the 39th Guards Brigade of Russia in hand-to-hand combat. His helmet camera captured Dmitry stepping out from cover and firing at the enemy. The footage surfaced online. He steps out fully from cover and fires a handheld anti-tank grenade launcher at the enemy armored vehicle. The battle footage has only just surfaced on social media, and the footage was taken 2 months ago, in November of last year. At that time, the battles in this village were one of the key points in the defense of Kurakovo. So the warriors were tasked with storming the outskirts of the village to strengthen the flanks of the city. But it wasn't Cobra who went on the assault. They say brothers?
The task of Cobra and Kaza. This was an observation post where they covered our rear and monitored the approaches, the movement of equipment, and signaled to us. Our task was to drive up, clear the landing zone, and enter the village.
In the battle, the airborne infantrymen eliminated 6 occupiers, but while the assault group of the airborne was defending the landing zone, enemy infantry was approaching. 2 occupiers were riding on motorcycles and passed right by the post where Cobra was standing with his partner Kaza. They managed to eliminate 1 enemy, and then Cobra went to look for another one.
There. Cobra told him to hold his position. Cobra gave him the order for Kaz to stop and control the passing area with a specific type of weapon. Because during the time we were clearing the village, a couple of fighters wanted to slip through, and Cobra decided to handle it himself based on his experience. It was an order, hold ground, that needed to be respected. We need to cool down. Cool down.
Cobra was from Odeshchina, and that's where he was buried, in the Lyubashevka community. He was 30 years old. On his social media page, he is seen in army uniform back in 2018. Before the war, he served in the JFO. His comrades say he was a heroic fighter as he always tried to cover his assault troops. The 71st Jaeger unit submitted Dmitry Maslovsky for a medal last year.
He was hot-tempered, always bold, sometimes a bit too much. We had to rein him in. He was afraid of no one and nothing.
What? Didn't Cobra hear him? Partner. The comrades understand that it was practically impossible.
Haas couldn't do it. Managing his sector and Cobra's position, 600 meters. Where Cobra was during the video that's now online, it's about 600 meters. And also keep in mind that 2 other groups are conducting a sweep at the same time. So there was intense gunfire and grenade explosions. So there's some serious cannon fire.
So how did this fight end? What happened to Cobra's partner? The position where Haas was last seen was empty and the warrior had not made contact. He was supposed to be reported as missing in action. But they found him during another assault in the basements of the village, heavily wounded. As of now, he is still in the hospital in serious condition.
Well then, straight to the point. Now let's analyze the operational situation on the Lyman front. The enemy continues its military terror. On the Lyman front, the invading army carried out 9 attacks on Ukrainian positions near the settlements of Kopanki, Novosergeyevka, Grekovka, Novoplatonovka, Terny, and Zarekhnaya. 3 clashes are still ongoing currently. But, as you understand, within the territory of the Russian Federation, it's also very unsettled. After all, Putin has long brought the war to his own country. The armed forces of Ukraine continue to eliminate North Korean soldiers. Any prisoners. Now in detail, Ukrainian armed forces, special operations soldiers repelled an assault by North Korean troops in the Kursk region and eliminated 17 soldiers. North Korea, and by the way, President Zelensky published the first video of the interrogation of the North Korean soldiers who were captured in the Kursk region, and he stated that Ukraine is ready to return them to their homeland as part of an exchange for Ukrainian prisoners in Russia. More details about the new ordeals. Kim's soldier right now.
Ukrainian defense forces captured North Korean soldiers in the Kursk region. In the video, one of the North Korean fighters, after being evacuated from the battlefield, he received first aid. Soon, the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, published a video of the interrogation.
Do you know exactly where you are right now? I don't know.
The soldiers, aged 19 and 25, said that they were supposedly going to Russia for training and not to fight against Ukraine. We've heard something like this before. Before that, one of them supposedly served in the North Korean army. One of the prisoners had a Russian military ID in the name of a resident of Tuva, while the other was without any documents.
Did you know that you are fighting against Ukraine?
I didn't know.
What did your commanders tell you when they sent you to war? They told him that it was actually for training, you know. Do you want to go back to North Korea?
I want to live in Ukraine.
Ukrainian defense forces captured soldiers from North Korea, North Korean servicemen who served in the main intelligence directorate, which is the key North Korean military intelligence agency. So this is the elite of the North Korean troops, the intelligence community. This is essentially analogous to the Russian GRU under the General Staff of the Armed Forces of the occupying country.
Exchange North Koreans for captives in Russia. His people, if he can organize their exchange for our soldiers who are in captivity in Russia, and he stated that these are not the first and won't be the last North Korean prisoners.
We can talk about the fact that the number of captured North Korean soldiers will be increasing, but it should be noted that thus North Korean servicemen are ordered not to surrender to the Ukrainian side, self-destruct, or it's been ordered not to surrender to the Ukrainian side, but rather to either blow themselves up or commit suicide, to avoid capture, to carry out self-shooting. So in this way, to avoid the possibility of being captured, moreover, I don't rule out that the families of North Korean servicemen located directly in Communist Korea are under tight control by the intelligence services. North Korea.
The operation in Kharkiv continues. The soldiers of the Special Operations Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine repelled the assault of North Korean troops. Rangers from the 6th Special Operations Regiment eliminated 18 North Korean soldiers. At least 300 North Korean soldiers have already died, and nearly 3,000 have been injured. In the war against Ukraine, reported South Korean intelligence, Ukrainian forces carried out a precision airstrike on the command post of the 2nd Guards Combined Arms Army of Russia. 2nd Guards Combined Arms Army of Russia, located in the city of Novogrodovka in the Donetsk region.
The main objectives of these strikes are to weaken the extensive Russian efforts in logistics and operational planning, which accordingly could reduce the rate of tactical success of the Russian army directly on the line of combat contact. Over the past 2 weeks, there have been attacks on command posts in the occupied areas of Ukraine. This refers to strikes on the command post of the 2nd Combined Arms Army of Russia during the occupation of Novogrodovka in the Donetsk region. In addition, a strike was carried out on the command post of the 8th Army Corps of the Southern Military District. This is occupied Kharkiv, and on January 10th, a strike was carried out on the command post of the 3rd Army Corps of the Central Military District in the occupied Svetlodarsk.
Forbes also reported that in several areas of the front, the armed forces of Ukraine have an advantage over Russia for the first time since 2022. In tanks,
Well, now let's move to the long-suffering Pokrovsk front. Everyone understands perfectly. This is yet another sacred goal for Putin and his pack. Accordingly, the situation here is heated to the limit. On the Pokrovsk front, since the beginning of the day, the occupiers have made 31, an attempt to push our defenders from their positions in the areas of the settlements of Vodian II, Greenfield, Yelizavetovka, Mirolyubivka, Luch, Lesovka, Novi Trud, Pokrovsk, Shevchenko, Zaverevo, Kotlina, Uspenovka, Pavlovka, Andreevka, Kurakovo, Dakhnoye, and Yantarnoye. The defense forces are holding back the onslaught and have repelled 30 enemy attacks. One clash is still ongoing, currently. Well, in Pokrovsk itself, they are suspending the operation of the mine. The situation in the city is getting worse as the enemy is attacking from 2 sides, trying to encircle the city. One of the obvious tasks that the occupiers set for themselves is to cut off the access routes to the city. The TSN filming crew finally made it to Pokrovsk to see the places that have become significant over more than 10 years. The confrontations in the Russian-Ukrainian war. But the main thing is how people are trying to survive there. TSN correspondent Natalia Nagorna will tell us more about this.
In Pokrovsk, we can stay for no more than an hour. The soldiers of the 109th Brigade. We took a TRO from our rep brothers to come here and see the city again that the enemy is trying to capture.
War is always hard, but right now there aren't enough people.
Our driver, Elshat, an Azerbaijani who lived in Kharkiv, put on his uniform almost 3 years ago, went to war, and is trying to speak Ukrainian.
Before the full-scale war, I spoke Russian and didn't think about it. Right now in the army, not just because of the army, but because of the war. Overall, it's necessary to learn the language. I'm not doing very well, but I'm trying.
About the defense of Pokrovsk, which the Russians have been trying to take for more than 6 months now, he says they are holding on.
The brigades are holding the defense. There are a few of them, not enough people, not enough equipment. We're holding on.
We're entering the city not the usual way, and through the back alleys to that part, which is conditionally further from the front lines. We're in Pokrovsk, all the windows are shattered. We came due to thick fog. We're trying to take in Pokrovsk. That there is thick fog. We're trying to take in Pokrovsk while it's still intact, not destroyed. We can still show how charming this little Donetsk town is. Our former hotel? We can still show how charming this little Donetsk town is. Oh, there's our former hotel. There are many places here that I can mention. Ours, our hotel, since we used to stay here often when we were on business trips. Our supermarket. We were just buying groceries here not long ago. But now they are either closed or completely destroyed. I used to get my nails done here. Vitaly is with us in the car, he's a local.
We used to go to school to kindergarten.
But now we had to evacuate the family.
Everyone has left.
He's looking for apartments and houses to call his friends later and tell them if their homes are still intact. To see his own house. Is your house destroyed? And of course, to see his own house. Is your house destroyed?
Oh.
Still intact. Despite the fact that things are like this now, Vitaly doesn't believe it. He doesn't want to believe that the house could be occupied. Do you believe that Pokrovsk will hold on? Well, honestly, if...
Of course I believe.
I'm deliberately talking about Pokrovsk for a longer time so that those who are looking for familiar buildings can take a good look at it. And we looked at it longer and once again saw the city that we love. Broken windows, but that's pretty much everywhere. Here, there's not even half of the building left. I feel happy when I see that somewhere, despite everything, a store is still operating on a generator, or when amidst the gray darkness the blue and yellow colors are still visible. The Donetsk National University also moved to this university at one time. Several thousand students studied here, but after just a few airstrikes it was completely destroyed. It's clear that there is absolutely no one here right now. A quiet place to live. A quiet city for living that has simply turned into a ghost. Maybe it's too cliché to call our cities ghosts, especially when there are still thousands of people living here. But I don't know how one can live here anymore. Thanks to the fog, people are going out on the street. It's currently curfew, a conditional curfew, but there are still people on the street. Igor is pulling empty bottles. You have to search for water.
There's no electricity, no gas.
Are you for water?
Yes, for water.
Where do you get water?
At the church, they still give it out.
Aren't you leaving?
Mom is sick, old, doesn't want to go anywhere, her arm is broken.
There is spontaneous trading near the former car market. What if someone perhaps buys something essential, like a gas cylinder?
I came to charge the light bulbs?
Electricity.
There's no electricity at home. We've had no electricity since September 3rd. We arrive here, there's a generator in the store, and we're already charging light bulbs, phones, and power banks, so that we have something to light up with. At least I could call the kids somehow. That's how we live. Like dogs.
Hungry, abandoned dogs are here and honestly everywhere. And indeed also despair.
I have no job, no pension, no benefits. There's nowhere to go and no money to go with.
People have gathered near the now non-functioning gas station. We met some acquaintances. Here you can only communicate like this. They won't be able to call each other?
Everything is exploding, they're shooting. Well, what can you do?
There's no electricity, no water, no communication. Who works in taxis? So are there a lot of customers?
Not a single one.
Why?
There are no people.
Well, there's no talk. How can you make a call?
There are still a lot of people left here.
People are moving around the city with bags and carts. Buses still come here, but the minibuses haven't been running for a long time. We're going home. My husband is at the beaches.
Where am I going? Go.
Every time we leave this city, we promise ourselves that we will definitely come back someday. For now, we are coming back.
Well, now let's analyze the operational situation on the Novopavlivka and Orikhiv fronts. The enemy is getting more aggressive here. On the Novopavlivka front, the invaders attacked 10 times near Constantinople, Velika Novosilka, and Vremivka. 3 attacks by the occupiers have already been repelled. The fighting continues. The enemy also bombed Novopil and Constantinople. On the Orikhiv front, the occupying forces launched one assault on our troops' positions near Novodanilivka. A battered, tormented land, drones flying around, burnt equipment, and bodies that cannot be retrieved. The film crew of TSN correspondent Natalia Nagornaya, together with the military, observed the enemy being worked on and witnessed how soldiers of the 65th Brigade took a prisoner. They are searching for every occupier and unfortunately losing their drones. Watch the footage about one day in the life of aerial reconnaissance teams at the front.
It's not even 5 in the morning yet, and we're racing in a Hummer. In complete darkness, closer to the front line, somewhere down here underground, there's a locked bunker. Why are you closing the house?
So that no one takes anything out.
Good day to this house. Here we are visiting the pilots, Kuba and Bagheera. This cozy bunker will be our home for the next 12 hours. And for us too. Outside the bunker, it's complete darkness, dangerous darkness. This territory was repelled from the enemy during the Zaporizhzhia counteroffensive.
Not far from the working area, a couple of kilometers away.
Our pilots fly during the day, so we wait. It's foggy, now, challenging for drone operators, yet safest for these positions. We must stay vigilant as the enemy may exploit the fog. It's foggy right now. On the one hand, this is the worst weather for a drone operator to operate, but on the other hand, these are also the safest times for these positions. You hear that? Even cars are driving by, even though it's usually not common to drive here during the day for safety reasons. In general, the pilots of the 65th Taust Brigade have to take risks and send the Mavic drones on reconnaissance missions. Is this the second one here today?
The pilot lost the Mavic because of the humidity, the fog, and the engines just overheated, causing it to crash. Everything is wet, dripping, fog lingering.
There's fog there, yeah, you can't see anything at all. I went outside.
As soon as the fog clears a bit, it gets really loud. Nearby occupiers' kamikaze drones are buzzing.
There's also a flying drone buzzing around here.
You can hear the artillery exit. In the bunker, the doors slam from the shockwaves. Kuba says that it gets even more fun here in the evening.
Kotsay orange package. They're launching Grad rockets in the evening, but everything's coming in, all the double barrels. Heavy artillery, as they say, is doing its job.
Grad rocket, as soon as they start shelling, everything comes crashing down on your head and the shelves are shaking.
And the shelves are shaking.
Bagheera has a patch from her native Donetsk region on her arm.
This daughter gave me a gift and came to visit me.
The operator is originally from Pokrovsk.
I'm from a village. We haven't reached the village yet, but they're already shelling the neighboring ones, where the farms, warehouses, and everything else used to be, so there's nothing left.
Well, and the school? I joined the army as a clerk, then I trained to be a drone operator.
I've worked in so many jobs. I was a cashier in a supermarket and a veterinarian. I treated piglets, teeth, tails, and did castrations.
Kuba is the squad commander, but the pilot is on leave, so he's filling in.
I'm an IT specialist myself. I worked in Europe, different jobs, a truck driver.
Meanwhile, the sky is clearing up. We finally have the opportunity to take a look at the work. You can see all sorts of things in this area. All the variety of burned equipment.
These are cabs, these are Soviet bombs.
Crater holes from small points to large pits.
The guys here know every little dip, every crater so well.
And the dead are nearby, and unfortunately our enemies. And there's no way to take anything from there.
Look, there's a body down there.
Automatic. Our guys are also lying there.
Under the burned BMP, the occupiers probably set up an observation post. We watch the war, but we talk about peace. Who would believe that it could be quiet again in the dugout under the worksite?
Sooner or later, it will all start over again.
But there might be some period when it gets quieter. Well, it's quiet for a while. Would you return to live in your hometown near Pokrovsk? No. Why? Ruins. How many years will it take to rebuild?
I haven't even decided what I want to do in civilian life yet.
Do you want to go back to civilian life?
Well, of course I do.
The drone footage is becoming dynamic. Suddenly, we're live watching how the soldiers of the 65th Brigade are capturing a prisoner.
He wasn't processing complaints, but this often happens, that they are surrendering.
We planned a trip. An FPV drone blew up. Our driver was brave. Right in front of the vehicle that is taking us out, an FPV drone exploded. Our driver, once again that day, did his dangerous job. Dropping off packages for the fighters who are staying here. As we gather from the positions of the exhausted fighters. Broken buildings, destroyed villages, and towns that have become the frontline rush by outside our windows.
And now it's time to move to the Lyman and northern direction of the front. Russian world. And here it continues to destroy, kill, and maim. In the Lyman direction, the invading army launched 9 attacks on Ukrainian positions near the settlements of Kopanki, Novosergeyevka, Grekovka, Novoplatonovka, Terny, and Zarekhnaya. 3 clashes are still ongoing. In the northern direction, the defense forces repelled 3 attacks from the Russian invaders. 1 clash is currently ongoing at the moment. The enemy also attacked our defensive positions near Verkhnokamenski and Ivan Daryevka. Under enemy airstrikes, North was hit. As you have already seen today, the armed forces of Ukraine skillfully and precisely strike military targets on the territory of the Russian Federation. And this is just the beginning. The rocket drone is called Pekla. Another development, a drone missile with the beautiful name Ruta. Well, of course, it's the Polanitsia. In the near future, this Ukrainian weapon will definitely become a nightmare for the Russian army. When exactly? Will this happen, and what other surprises are in store? Are the armed forces of Ukraine preparing for the Kremlin terrorists?
At the beginning of December 2024, the President of Ukraine, together with the head of the Ministry of Industrial Policy, will present the drone missile Peklo. There isn't too much open information, but the main thing is successful combat applications. The Ukrainian development has already been completed, assures the Supreme Commander, and the fighters at the front have supposedly received dozens of such units. Defeats. From the specifications, it's known that Peklo flies at a distance of 700 kilometers and has the same speed per hour. They have been developing the weapon for a year. They are currently improving the nomenclature of the warhead to expand the range of possible targets. They are still increasing the level of protection of the product against the impact of enemy electronic warfare means. From what has been made public, it's clear that Peklo is about 2 meters long. The wingspan is almost the same. On the upper part of the fuselage, there's a structure that looks like a mount, which could mean that the drone missile is launched not from the ground, but from frontline bombers or fighters.
I'd be happier if I had it. Its 700-kilometer warhead is 50 kilo, like Lyuchi drone. Ukrainian drones and Peklo missiles hit same targets. So that's the weight of the warhead that, for example, the drone Lyuchi carries. The targets that are hit by Ukrainian long-range drones will also be struck by these Peklo-class missiles. But it's more effective. To shoot down a flying object at a speed of 700 kilometers with a machine gun, well, that's even more than just military luck.
Another development is a drone missile with a beautiful name Ruta. Like the previous one, there's practically no information. As of today, the only known weapon with the name Ruta is from Destinius. In terms of specifications, its range is 300 kilometers, which classifies it as a medium-range strategic drone. Such a range allows the drone missile to be used for both deep reconnaissance and high-precision targeting of objectives at a significant distance. At the same time, using it as a target for training also indicates the modularity of the design, which can be adapted to different needs. It is presumed that the Ruta is equipped with a small jet engine and is launched using a special rocket booster. It has wings for flight stability, a warhead for hitting targets, and modern electronics for control. The main advantage is low cost and high efficiency, the developers assure us.
We need to build strategic deterrent forces. Deterrent forces that will create conditions when Russia or the axis of evil, meaning if we talk about Russia, North Korea, Iran or China lurking somewhere in the shadows, can resort to new aggression against Ukraine at any moment. Even if the current stage of the war is frozen.
The drone missile is less known. Developed by Ukrainian engineers and has supposedly already been tested by the military. It is similar to Peklo. It was created to hit important targets at a distance of up to 700 kilometers. It can carry up to 30 kilograms of explosives. It is launched from a ground platform. It has a turbojet engine that provides high speed. It also has a low production cost, allowing it to be launched in large quantities. According to industry specialists, Ukraine has the capability to build hundreds of missiles each year. But to produce modern missiles, we need materials that we don't have. The war and dependence on the import of certain components can slow down this process, so the concept may remain on paper.
In other countries where this can be sourced, the competition for procurement will not only be with our enemy, but also with our partners, who will try to produce as much product as possible right now. Although more than us, not many will do this. Because we have a furnace, we have a testing ground, unfortunately. And that's why a lot of various equipment is burned here, including what is supplied from Western countries. So there will be problems with procurement, which will be serious for scaling up production.
But despite everything, Ukraine continues to prove that it is capable not only of resisting, but also of creating high-tech weapons to defend its sovereignty. We just need to scale up so we don't depend on our partners and their whims. And most importantly, no one will stop us from hitting deep exactly where we need to.
That's all for today, but very soon on the Front News program, new, unique materials from our journalists in the hottest spots of the war, gathered so that you know the truth. You were with Vladimir Timoshenko. Take care of yourself and your loved ones.